Welcome to Season 2 of Overwatch 2. We have Symmetra released, we have Joker Queen Mythic Skin, new Battle Pass, all that fun stuff, but this video is going to be focused on balance changes and I'll show comparisons where possible. Let's get it started. To begin, the DPS role passive has changed. Originally, you'd get movement speed upon elimination, but that has now been removed. Instead, they buffed the reload speed upon elimination from 25% to 35%. For Doomfist, he received an insane amount of buffs from being one of the worst tanks to now, quite honestly, the best. The best defense passive, HP per target, has increased from 30 to 40. The passive HP over health cap has been increased from 150 to 200. For Rocket Punch, let's begin with the minimum time to cancel punch being reduced from 0.25 seconds to 0.12 seconds. This is mostly a quality of life change to allow you to quickly charge and cancel it, and can be used to bait out abilities from your enemies. The impact damage range, the min-max amount, has been increased from 25 to 30 to 25 to 50. If the target hits the wall slam damage range, the min-max as well, has been reduced though from 20 to 40 to 10 to 30 damage. They basically took some of the damage from the wall impact and put it on the punch impact itself. However, if you do hit the person against the wall, it now stuns them for an additional 0.25 seconds. Overall, the normal Rocket Punch is a lot better now, but they took some power away from the empowered Rocket Punch to compensate, where the wall slam stun duration has been reduced from 0.5 to 1 second down to 0.25 to 0.75 seconds. Additionally, the knockback radius was reduced from 4 meters to 3 meters. This is good because honestly, it was a little ridiculous. Moving on to Power Block, its cooldown has been reduced from 8 seconds to 7 seconds, so it's going to be up a little bit more frequently, and the duration itself has been increased from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds, giving you a larger window to absorb the damage you need. The minimum damage itself that's required to get the Empowered Punch has now been reduced from 90 to 80. Although Empowered Punch is a little bit weaker now, the minimum threshold being reduced a little bit down to 80, plus the shorter cooldown and the longer window of opportunity with the longer duration is a huge overall buff. Meteor Strike has also been buffed because now it empowers your Rocket Punch automatically as soon as you land. Additionally, the enemy's slow duration when you land on someone has been increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Let's talk Joker Queen. We obviously have the new mythic skin, so she's gonna get a lot of buffs this patch. First though, let's talk about the nerf, where her torso and head hitbox volume size has increased by 12%. She's a little bit easier to hit. That's actually quite a big nerf. On the flip side, here are her buffs, beginning with Adrenaline, her passive, where its self-healing ratio has increased from 1 to 1.25x. This is quite a big buff to her healing because instead of a 1-to-1 ratio, so let's say you deal 200 damage, you'll heal 200 normally. Instead, if you deal 200, you'll heal 250. A 25% increase. Commanding Shout's cooldown was reduced from 15 to 14 seconds. Rampage, her ultimate's cost has been reduced by 10%, so it'll come up a little bit more frequently, and its wound duration was reduced from 5 seconds to 4.5 seconds. You still deal the full normal 100 damage per target on the ultimate, but it deals this damage over a shorter period of time, which means each tick has to be ticking a little bit more damage. It's overall a DPS increase on the ultimate and a net buff. Bastion received a ton of buffs. Let's start with his configuration Sentry. The basic transformation to turret form cooldown has been reduced from 12 seconds to 10 seconds. Now for the configuration artillery, his ultimate, it's finally receiving some much needed buffs because honestly it was one of the worst ults in the game. Even when it was bugged in season 1 where people were firing infinite amounts, you would actually be able to live half the time because of how slow it came down. So the delay before each projectile drops has been reduced from 1 second to 0.6 seconds, so it comes down a lot quicker. However, its explosion damage has been reduced from 300 to 250 in the outer ring. The minimum delay between placing shots though has also been reduced by 20%, so you can click them a little bit quicker, and it also no longer deals self damage, so if someone jumps you while you're in it, you can just fire them on yourself with no repercussion. Alright, for Sojourn, some much needed nerfs are coming in. First, let's begin with the railgun, the charged railgun, where the energy decay duration has been reduced from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. That's a good start, but I think it could have been aggressively nerfed even more because it's still pretty easy to refresh that full duration by shooting anything, whether it's an enemy, a shield, a turret, or any player-made object. The crit damage multiplier has now been reduced from 2 times to 1.5 times. So this is interesting because 100 charge on a railgun body shot is 130 damage. The damage ranges from 30 to 130, and 1 charge equals 1 extra damage. So before, the 2x multiplier would mean a headshot would deal 260. Now at the 1.5x ratio, a headshot from 130 times 1.5 is now equal to 195 damage, which means it cannot one-shot 200 HP heroes anymore. Its fall-off range has also been reduced from 70 meters to 40 meters, and it's surprising because nobody actually knew that the railgun charge shot had fall-off damage to begin with, because 70 meters is so far, it's not even relevant on most maps. Like, this is what 70 meters means. And how often are you a Sojourn shooting someone this far? You're most likely trying to rail someone a little bit closer. Those were some decent nerfs to the charged railgun shot, so to compensate, they're actually buffing the SMG damage per projectile from 9 to 10 each. They're also buffing overclock, where the energy charge rate is increased by 20%, so it does build up and shoot a lot quicker now. Yikes. I actually still think Sojourn is really good. For Symmetra, she's finally getting some love, where her photon projector beam charge rate has been increased by 20%. It means you can build up the level 2 and level 3 charge beam a lot quicker now. On the flip side though, it decays a lot quicker as that rate has been increased by 20%, so you better make sure you're still hitting somebody to maintain that level 3 beam. And a little tip for new Symmetra players is that you can tell what beam you are based on the thickness of the beam, or the sound, or the way the gun looks, because there's a little UI indicator there. Additionally, it's also bringing back the regaining of ammo from damaging barriers, which for some reason was removed in the Overwatch 2 beta, but they're bringing it back. For Tracer, they're rebuffing her damage for her pulse pistols from 5 to 6 damage, because early in the Overwatch 2 beta, they nerfed it, but ever since a fall-off range bug was noticed by the community, Aaron Keller responded by saying yes, it's a bug, and they realized the strength or the power level of a Tracer with the bug was still okay, so they're going to remove that bug, hopefully it's removed in this patch, and they're going to buff the raw damage back to compensate. Now on to supports, we have Ana. She's receiving a very minor buff, where the Sleep Dart cooldown has been reduced from 15 seconds to 14 seconds. Cool. For Kiriko, her arm hitbox volume was reduced by 15%. Now, normally when you reduce the hitbox of a hero, it's a buff because they're harder to hit, but this is just Kiriko's arm, which is in front of her face anyways, and this is actually a nerf because originally her arm was too thick and it was blocking headshots, but now that it's been reduced, you're able to headshot her from where you're actually supposed to headshot her. For some quality of life buffs, they added the auto wall climb function in her hero options, which means basically when you jump near a wall and you're facing it, you'll automatically start climbing up, as opposed to the default, which is where you have to hold jump or press jump again on the wall to climb. The other quality of life buff was for Swift Step, where the ability input can now be held to activate. So you can pre-buffer or hold the button. You can swing your camera now and it'll Swift Step the moment someone is in range, as opposed to mashing the button again. If you look down, her kunai ammo has also increased from 12 to 15, and Protection Suzu's cast time was reduced from 0.15 seconds to 0.1 seconds, which means it activates a little bit quicker. These are some buffs. So where are the nerfs? Well, Kitsune Rush was receiving most of the nerfs, where its ultimate cost has been increased by 10%, so it takes longer to build. The movement speed bonus was reduced from 50% to 30%, and the cooldown rate reduction was reduced from 3x to 2x faster. And finally, we have some mercy buffs that nobody asked for, where her pistol weapon swap time was reduced from 0.5 seconds to 0.35 seconds faster, and the ammo was increased from 20 to 25, encouraging a little bit more battle mercy, which I don't recommend, but hey, you do you, baby. That's it. Come to my Twitch at twitch.tv/KarQ for Ramatra drops, and I'll see you guys next time.